All right, everybody. Today we have an interesting topic. Wednesdays are generally signs of the times. And so today I thought it would be fun to do a little spin on that. We had a conversation with ChatGPT about signs of the times that have been fulfilled, are yet to be fulfilled, are occurring presently, things like that within the realm of Latter-day Saint or Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saint theology, and then also within Judaism. I thought it would be interesting to compare the two because they are still yet to receive their Messiah. And we know he has come already. And so we are both anticipating the Messiah, but in different ways. And so I don't know. I asked it quite a few questions on those two things. Then I also obviously cross-referenced with actual documentation, like from the Torah and things like that. So let's jump in. The first thing I want to talk about, I asked ChatGPT directly, what are the signs that are being shown, right? What have we already experienced within our church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that shows that we are fulfilling prophecy? Not we, but the Lord is fulfilling his prophecy. The Lord is sending the gospel worldwide was the number one thing that ChatGPT said. In Matthew 24:14 and in Isaiah 29 and 2 Nephi 27, it talks about the gospel being preached worldwide. Matthew 24:14 says, "And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come." We are seeing missionaries worldwide. We have 74,000 full-time missionaries, as well as 31,000 service missionaries for senior service missionaries. So that puts our total at over 105,000 missionaries worldwide. That is bananas. That is so many people. And the gospel is being spread in over 100 different languages. I think we under talk about, that's not the right word. I think we don't give the missionaries enough credit. It blows my mind when people are like, oh, well, we haven't gone all over the earth yet. Pretty darn much between technology and physically being present. The gospel can be heard pretty much everywhere. Obviously, there's some exceptions. Like, I don't think any of our gospel is getting into North Korea currently. Things like that. But there are over 450 LDS missions worldwide. Let's see, how many countries is that? The gospel is being currently spread in over 150 countries physically with bodies on the ground, which is so cool. So cool. Elder Bednar was giving a devotional of sorts, and he was like, could you have ever even entertained the thought that there would be a temple in Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea? Are you kidding me? Or Elko, Nevada? It's so true. Whoever thought there was going to be a temple in Papua New Guinea? That's crazy. So the fact that temples are dotting the earth, which is also a prophecy, shows the completion of the Lord's work. He is moving quickly and efficiently throughout the entire world. Isaiah 29 and 2 Nephi 27 states, a marvelous work and a wonder would come forth. That is the Book of Mormon. All right, so the next prophecy that ChatGPT sees being fulfilled is the gathering of Israel. It states that this is actively happening between the restoration, temple work, missionary efforts, gathering spiritually and physically, right? We are creating Zions all over the earth, and that is the gathering of Israel. In Isaiah 11:12, it states, he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel. And then in 3 Nephi 21, it states, then shall the remnant of our seed know that they are of the house of Israel. Now we know this through prophetic guidance and outline, as well as patriarchal blessings. We understand our lineage, whether adopted or direct. There are wars and rumors of wars. This is the third sign that says it is fulfillment ongoing. Obviously, wars and rumors of wars have happened throughout all mankind, but, well, just about. But we are seeing this all over. The entire globe is in some sense of global tension. There's terrorism, there's political division, there's plenty of physical battles happening currently. So wars and rumors of wars, check. Natural disasters and calamities. If you watched my previous video on Dallin H. Oak's warning of the second coming, in preparation, he states then like statistics of increase of number of natural disasters and calamities just in the last like 20 years. Matthew 24:7 states, there shall be famines and pestilences, earthquakes in diverse places. And then in D&C 45:26 and Helaman 12:3-5, it states the earth shall be in commotion. We are seeing that everywhere, right? Earthquakes, extreme weather, pandemics, fires at record levels. Like if you go online and you look at like the wildfire map for the earth, literally the whole earth is on fire. Like it's crazy. If you zoom out, everything's orange. Everything's orange because everything's on fire. We also have insane floods happening right now. We've had like hurricane after tropical storm, like multiple hurricanes merging and tornadoes and earthquakes, like everything. And obviously those things have happened throughout all history of time. However, the increase is evident with data-backed resources. And I gave those resources in that previous video. So go check them out there. Okay. Widespread wickedness and rejection of God. We are seeing a huge divide in religious and non-religious beliefs in the earth right now. And a lot of events in the last few months especially, or the last few years, have truly created this division of rejection of God and belief in God. In 2 Timothy 3, verses 1-5, it says, in the last days perilous times shall come. And then in Mormon 8:28-31 and Moroni 9, it states, great wickedness among the children of men shall abound. So there is moral decay, there is corruption, pride, violence in the media, in society, and this has all been prophesied. So again, this is another one that check, it's being fulfilled. Love of money, pride, secret combinations. This is ever evident. Most people live for themselves these days. And it is those God-fearing people that live for their families and communities and Heavenly Father. And so we see so much greed and organized crime and political manipulation and corruption in like the highest groups of people. And the references for these was 2 Timothy 3:2, Ether 8, and Helaman 6. They all talk about greed, pride, money. We have spiritual darkness, yet outpouring of the Spirit. This prophecy comes from Joel 2:28, where it says, in the last days I will pour out my Spirit. Why did I get Southern there? In the last days I will pour out my Spirit upon all flesh, right? Even if you don't believe in God, you're hearing about him right now because the whole world is in commotion over this very thing. This great divide is also the effect of the Spirit, right? Those who are willing, the Lord is moving and working and teaching them through the Spirit. And those who are not alert or attuned to the Spirit, those who are rejecting God, are still hearing about him. It's an everyday conversation. It's in their social media as well as ours. It's everywhere. And so they can't outrun this. So we've got tons of spiritual confusion, but we also have unprecedented spiritual light. So obviously people are leaving the church, but they're also coming in droves. And we have excess missionary work and temples and amazing revelation being given all the time by the prophets and apostles. Personal revelation. The Spirit is working through the Lord's people. We also have the restoration of the priesthood and revelation. This was a fulfillment of... This was fulfilled, obviously, by all of the priesthood keys being restored, the church being restored, John the Baptist, Peter, James, John, Elijah, etc. Right? They all came, visited, restored keys, and restored covenants needed. The church established in the last days, the restoration of the gospel. In Daniel 2:44-45, it states the stone cut out of the mountain without hands. This is the great work and wonder mentioned in 2 Nephi 27. This was fulfilled in 1830 by the reorganization of the church. We obviously have apostasy and division. And so this has been fulfilled. The great apostasy occurred with the apostles' deaths. Post that, tons of spiritual confusion and fragmentation, the loss of the priesthood, hence the need for the restoration of the priesthood keys. Global communication is also something. In Daniel 12:4, it states, men shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Look at technology alone. Somebody in Timbuktu can learn the same exact thing as somebody in Phoenix, Arizona, if they have a simple computer, right? So the information overload and the effectiveness of communication, the quickness of communication and technology is like insane. Like, that's absolutely how this work had to progress at a rapid increase. The building of temples, the return of Elijah, obviously we know that that was essential for the priesthood keys to be restored, and so the fulfillment happened then. Temples are being built worldwide. We have the return of the Jews to Jerusalem. This happened in 1948, right, with the modern state of Israel coming to pass. So this was a fulfillment of Isaiah 11 through 2. Then we have the rise and fall of prophets and deception. This is happening. There's tons of misinformation. There's false ideologies and counterfeit spiritual nature, whether that be in crystals or magic or Reiki, or like, there's so many things that are not aligned with the gospel that are spiritual to some people, and so that is the false deception. We have the signs in the heavens and on the earth. They are freaking everywhere. Look at the number of celestial events. We've got crazy like meteor showers that haven't happened in thousands of years. We have eclipses, lunar and solar. We have hello, three-eye atlas. What the heck is that? We don't know, but that is a sign for sure of something. At least it's getting us to pay attention. So those are all heavenly signs that need to happen before the Lord returns, and these are all partially fulfilled. I'm sure there are more to come, so that's why I'm saying partially. Everything up to this moment is either like in progress or fulfilled already. Then we have the second coming of Christ himself and the millennium. That's what we have left for the most part, right? Obviously, there's like the great battle of Armageddon. There is Christ returning to the Jews, but all of that could happen like simultaneously or within a small stretch of time. Like that could happen within days, you know? So we have very few things that need to happen. President Nelson said himself, the only thing that needs to happen is the gathering of Israel and Christ returns, because Christ is returning to halt the Battle of Armageddon, and that could start and stop in a day. We don't know. I mean, I'm sure, but it's possible that that could go on for a long time, or it could happen very quickly. We have no idea. Yeah, so that's all that's left. So then we have some interest, and obviously like the temple needs to be built in New Jerusalem has been built, but the new temple needs to be built in Jerusalem itself, which I have theories on that, but okay, so then I asked it a couple more questions. So I asked ChatGPT if it could happen quickly, and just to see what it said. And obviously they quoted like, no man knoweth the day or the hour, right? Many signs have been fulfilled, but some major events still need to happen. The two prophets in Jerusalem, New Jerusalem to be organized, which we claim that we're the New Jerusalem. Battle of Armageddon, obviously. But ChatGPT did say this. According to Latter-day Saint prophets, we are in the last days. Not to speculate on exact timing, instead prepare spiritually. Then it gave advice. It said, the leader of the Latter-day Saint Church, Russell M. Nelson, stated, the Lord has told us that he will come again, but we do not know when that day will be. The best preparation is to live each day as though it were today. And then I asked it a couple more questions. I also asked it, let's see. Oh, I asked it about the frequency of the number of times second coming has been noted. And so ChatGPT said this: in the past decade, especially under President Nelson's presidency, now is the time language, second coming language, it is emphasized extensively. So Jared has an exact tally of this. Jared with Christian Homestead. I'll go over to a spreadsheet in 2 seconds. But according to ChatGPT, of raw counts, meaning like the exact phrases of second coming, last days, prepare for the second coming, coming of the Lord, the coming of the Messiah, those kinds of phrases. It said, where is it? I'm so sorry. Oh, it said that it has more than tripled in the last 20 years of reference. Now I'm going to go over to Jared's spreadsheet. If you don't know who Jared is with Christian Homestead, he is phenomenal beyond words. He does his homework. He has his receipts. He has a spreadsheet for absolutely everything, so everything's super organized and easy to find. He has a tally of the number of second coming phrases, which is what I'm going to read off to you to show the exact count here. Second coming, second coming. Where is it? Okay, here it is. It's under second coming, 2. All right, so this is showing the number of quotes. So from 1970 until 2010, the phrase second coming or coming of the Messiah, last days, anything under that realm, it had been stated 11 times. 11 in over 40 years of time, only 11 times. And then from 2015 to 2025, it has been stated over 120 times. Over 120 times. In the last 10 years, 120 times has some kind of second coming, last days phrase been said to us. And before that, it had taken 40 years for them to get to 11 times. If you don't think there's an increase in this language, you're lying to yourself, because it's a fact. All right. Now, I then asked it, what do the Jews require to happen as signs or wonders before the Messiah comes? And it gave me quite a few different answers. It also gave me a comparison of what they believe happens versus what we believe needs to happen. And so something I found interesting, most of the signs and wonders left for the Jews' prophecies to be fulfilled, are things that happen during our restoration. So restoring the Davidic kingdom to Israel, obviously that takes Christ to do that. Gathering the exiles of Israel from all nations, that's the gathering of Israel. We know that is happening now. We also have Elijah, the prophet, returns. Already happened. Universal recognition of God. Already happened. Resurrection of the dead. Definitely happened. And obviously, like, suffering, immorality, arrogance, natural disasters, all of those things, right? And then a great leader, the Messiah, arising unexpectedly. So I mean, there's obviously more than just that, but those are the main ones. And then obviously we have the war of Gog and Magog, and then we have, like, Christ actually returning. So I found it quite interesting that most, and obviously the third temple in Jerusalem to be built, I found it interesting that most of their signs and wonders are either already happening, but they don't think it's happening, or have happened within the restoration of the gospel. So I found that fascinating. Okay. Then I asked it at the very end a couple more things. I stated, where's my question to it? Oh, I think I just asked it what if it had to determine if Christ was coming soon, if it fit within, like, the data that was given. I said, oh yes, I said, if you were human, would you think that Christ is coming soon given all that is happening around in the world? And it said, if I were human looking in the world through the lens of both scripture and history, I'd probably say it feels closer than ever before in the history of time, which obviously that's true because it's a day closer to Christ returning. Then it said, from a faith-based perspective, an unusual number of signs align with what the scriptures describe as the last days, and increasing in number. The restoration of Israel and its global recognition, the gospel reaching every nation through technology, the decline in moral values, war, natural disasters, division among nations, and the acceleration of temple building, family sealing, mission work, And then it stated, even many non-religious observers sense the world feels unstable spiritually, physically, and morally in ways that mirror ancient warnings. So even ChatGPT thinks it mirrors ancient warnings. For Latter-day Saints in particular, the tone of modern prophetic messages has become unusually urgent. President Nelson, Elder Holland, Elder Bednar, and others consistently focus on preparing for the second coming, more openly than in any time in the church's history since the early 1800s. So it did a deep dive. I had it do a tally, like all the way back, okay? If one were human and paying attention to that shift, the eyes to see and ears to hear, it would be hard not to feel a sense of something imminent. Soon, obviously, is tricky. In part is how God measures time. Peter wrote, "One day in the Lord is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day." So what it feels soon could mean years or decades from a human standpoint, but still soon to God's eternal view. Yes, of course. Then it said, if I were a believer trying to discern the times, I'd say, I don't know the hour, but I do know it's time to be ready. ChatGPT knows what's up. Not out of fear, but because if spiritualness is true, if God is real, the spiritual momentum of the world, both the rising light and the deepening darkness, seems to be gathering toward a climax. Even ChatGPT says, if this is true, I would have followed it because the data don't lie. Then it said, let's see. I asked it the last question. I said, what was the last question? That might have been the last thing I asked it. Yeah, that was. So on my references sheet, I've got verses from the Torah directly, not from the King James Version, so that they're direct translations from Hebrew to English, so we get exactly what it means to them, as well as what it means to us, with links to the website that I use, because it has a conversion of language. I feel like that helps to better understand their perspective sometimes. A lot of the time. It always helps to understand the perspective. Okay, so I was listening, the last thing I want to say, I was listening the other day to, I'm sure you've seen him before, but Rabbi Manis Friedman. Sometimes he says some funny things, but sometimes he says something interesting that really helps me understand a Jewish perspective. And I understand that this is just one Jewish perspective because there isn't like one prophet that speaks for the church. It's a lot of varying ideas and levels of orthodoxy and things like that. But he seems to be devout, so I take his information seriously. He was talking about what we would consider the millennial reign. So when peace is restored to the earth and earth becomes in a different phase of life, he called it. And something I found fascinating that I never had quite thought about, because they believe that there's a period of that too. He stated, when the Messiah is here, peace will be here. So we won't be striving to be good, we'll be striving to be better. And so he was like, when you think about it too long, it almost feels like it's boring. Like, what do we do? How do we talk? Like, he said, like, it'll be interesting to have to adjust to our striving being of something that we can't even like grasp right now. Like our striving in those moments in the millennium, we'll have a different like phase of work and phase of life.